Hello Booktube, hello book friends. Welcome or welcome back to my channel and another tag video. And on what is a very grey and miserable day outside, I am going to try and do the 101 days of summer tag. This is original tag created by Duane at the Reading Room, and I was tagged by Pat at Book Chat with Pat. So thank you to both of you for creating and tagging me respectively. I think this is quite a fun tag. There are 9 prompts and a tag other people prompt. Yeah, we'll see how we go. So I've got my trusty notebook. I have books. I have props. We shall see how we get on. Prompt number 1, barbecue time. Pick a favourite author. They are inviting you to a barbecue to announce their newest work. What do you hope they are announcing? And what are you bringing to share? Now, I kind of got a bit stuck between two authors. I've been thinking about various things lately and the kind of state of the world, and I've been sort of wondering what the two Charleses in my life would think of the world today based on, what the world was like when they were alive. They are Charles Dickens and Charles Darwin. Now, I think whichever one of them it is, and maybe it's both of them, maybe I can resurrect both from beyond the grave and bring them back. I might say something about evolution, maybe. And they are announcing a new work. In Dickens's case, it would be a novel which heavily leans on the state of the world today and what is going on around the world. Authoritarianism and poverty and all of the kind of topics that he tackled in his many novels. In Darwin's case, I think he would be coming and doing a kind of follow up to the origin of the species, given that the way our knowledge of DNA and things like that has I was going to say has evolved over time, and so that's why I can't pick between the two. So maybe, like I say, both. It's a barbecue of the Charles. No, a barbecue of the Charleses is wrong. A barbecue given by the two Charleses. And what would I bring? I make a mean potato, feta, broad bean, and mint salad. So I would be bringing that. That's what I'm going to bring. And yeah, I don't know how that's going to go now. A bit worried about that, actually. So yeah, a barbecue of the Charleses. Gee. Okay. Number 2, road trip. Pick a real world setting from a recent or not so recent read. Where would that road trip take you? Okay, I read this, I think it was April, maybe it was April, May this year. A book that by a war correspondent who travelled all the way kind of through Italy, and then back to England, and then through France, just after D-Day, so up through France, crossed the Rhine into Germany. So basically the kind of period 1943 through to the end of the war in Europe. And that's Alan Moorhead, and he wrote about it in this book Eclipse, and this is recently been republished because has been out of print for a long time. And so that I would love to do that road trip, even just to do that road trip now, and visit some of the battlefields, and some of the memorials, some of the Commonwealth war grave sites in Normandy. So yeah, that would be my kind of road trip, and sort of kind of revisiting that kind of journey that he took. Okay, problem number 3: camping. Do you rough it? No. Say tent and a sleeping bag, or do you require amenities? Will you read more than usual? I don't. I think I probably could still camp, but I'd much rather do something like a cabin in the woods, or glamping, something with a few. It doesn't have to be 5-star hotel, and I am known for finding places that are cut off from civilization in terms of the internet and mobile phone signal and things like that. So that would be my kind of that's my roughing it, if you like. So but I like a reasonable bed, and something I can cook a meal with without having to have a little primer stove or whatever. And would I read more? Absolutely. That's the whole point of going somewhere where there's no mobile phone signal, or you're kind of in effect incommunicado. So yeah, would definitely be reading more. Number 4, festivals. You attend a booktube festival where dressing as your one of your favourite literary characters is the only requirement. Who'd you go dressed as, and why? Well, now I would go dressed as Sherlock Holmes, because it's really easy to get some cheap props, and all of the tropes, deerstalk hat and things like that, which if don't really apply. So it would be very easy to find the right costume. I might have to shave the beard off, but I could, I think, make a passable Sherlock Holmes. And so that's why, because it's relatively easy to do. It's one of my all-time favourite characters in literature, and why not? Not that I really do festivals. 5, slice of life. What is something others may consider simple or mundane, but is something you can't see a summer without? For me, and I think from judging by a couple of the other videos that I've seen, or YouTube booktubers who've done this tag, sitting in the garden reading a book, or for me, just sitting in the garden. I like to just go outside, sit in the garden, not in the sun, just under a tree, and sort of meditate on life. So yeah, I do that. Do it fair, even if it's like 2 minutes. Yeah, that's one of my kind of pleasures of the summer. Particularly if nobody's mowing their lawn or cutting the hedge, or so there's no garden power tools going, and it's nice and quiet. It's just bird song, and we live quite close to a railway line, so there were a train going past or whatever. But yeah, relatively quiet and peaceful. Scary story. It's number 6. Which author would you invite to go camping with you, knowing you would want to hear the scariest story they can tell around the campfire? It's got to be, for me, Stephen King. And he's pretty much a master of short stories. So this is one of his short story collections, which has one of his, in my opinion, best stories in, which is I'm going to get it wrong now. I don't know if it's The Mist or The Fog, but yeah, so it's The Mist. So that, for me, absolutely having him. Well, it won't be around the campfire, will it? We've decided it's a cabin in the woods, which might be worse. I don't know. Would that be worse than a campfire? You tell me. So yeah, Stephen King. Number 7, first love stroke summer crush. A romantic interest during the summer months often leads to a bittersweet ending or a lasting impact. Which do you prefer to read? How does the age of the characters affect this opinion? I'm gonna say lasting impact because I always get a bit annoyed when it's like, you know, love is unrequited, or the author kills off one of the couple, and the other one then has to live the rest of their life kind of thinking about what if, and so yeah, but I guess you can have lasting impact in that, you know so, and unrequited love. But the book I've picked is a Dick Francis novel called Proof. And the reason I picked it is because he always kind of has a love interest of some description in his books. Sometimes it's a major kind of character. Sometimes it's just a passing thing. In this novel, the love interest is actually dead. So the principal character, who is a wine merchant, has lost his wife, and she appears throughout the story, but obviously not as a literal ghost, but as the ghost of herself in his memories and things like that. So yeah, that's what I've put. That's the book I've picked, and I like I say, I always much prefer it when the good the couple get together at the end and live happily ever after. Prefer that to, but yeah, this was so well written, so well done that yeah, that's what I've picked anyway. Nostalgia, number 8. What book or books instill in you an overwhelming sense of summer nostalgia? They don't necessarily have to take place during summer, but rather they somehow are attached to summer for you. There are a couple of books that do this for me. One is Tolkien's The Hobbit, and that's because, and I've told this story a few times on the channel. I read that book one summer, and that memory is kind of, it's lodged up here, and will be forevermore, I think. Another similar book is Oversea Under Stone by Susan Cooper, which again I read one summer, or just before the summer, in fact, and the story centers around the is it 4 children or 3 children, and their kind of summer adventure during the school holidays. I need to reread this again, and I've been meaning to reread this year, but I've been waiting for the summer, so any time now would be good, I guess. So yeah, I'm going to reread this year, and this for me is the book that I always think of, and The Hobbit are the two that I always think of at the start of summer. So yeah, that's for me. Summer stories. What is the book or books you would recommend where the summertime is the primary focus? Now, I cheated a little bit with this one. 2 reasons. One, because this book has been made into a film, and this month is the 50th anniversary of the first showing of that film. Summer is a big feature of this book and the film, but it is not the principal character. The principal character in this book and film is a fish, and that fish is Jaws. And if you know the story, basically this is the tale of a man-eating shark that comes to the seaside town of Amity, which is effectively sort of Cape Cod, one summer, and treats the local residents, the summer visitors, as a kind of smorgasbord. And that's kind of all you really need to know. The book is a bit different to the film. I can't find my physical copy, so apologies for having to hold up a my Kindle. But yeah, that's my kind of recommended summer read. I think it did a lot of damage to the image of the shark, but it also did a lot of good for the image of the shark as well. But most of that has come kind of latterly. So yeah, I'm kind of thinking another summer book I need to reread is Jaws and rewatch the movie. It's one of my favourite films. So yeah, let me do both of those. So I've got a bit of summer reading to do now, having done this tag, because that's it. The last tag is tag your friends. I'm gonna Pat tagged loads of people, so I'm gonna have a look and see if there's anybody that she missed that I can tag, and if I can, then I'll tag them in the description below. But if you want to have a go, feel free. I'll put the prompts in the description as well. I really enjoyed this. It was fun. Thinking of the books. Yeah, it's made me think a lot about different things, which for a tag about summer is kind of a little bit unusual, I guess. You'd think I wouldn't have been thinking about, fascism and poverty, for example, or the Second World War, maybe not. Anyway, if you have been, thank you for watching. Thank you to Duane for coming up with a tag. It's really been fun. Thank you, and thank you to. I always do this. Thank you to Tag for patting me. Thank you to Pat for tagging me. Thank you, Pat. Apologies for mixing up your name once again. Thank you, Pat. And thank you guys for watching, and I will speak to you again soon. Take care. Bye bye.